Hi everyone, this is Alan. Welcome back to the channel. So I'm 39 years old and this year I turned the big 40. And this got me thinking, if I could give some advice to somebody in their 20s just starting out on their own financial journey, what sort of advice would I give? Or even myself, if I could go back and speak to my younger self, what would I do differently? So my first and biggest piece of advice is I would start out on that investment journey ASAP. So let me just give you some numbers of what would happen if I'd have started investing at aged 18. So had I invested just a simple £400 per month into a dividend stock, for example, yielding 6%, this is what my investment journey would look like. As you can see in the light blue, that's the principal amount, the amount that I would have paid in. And as you can see in the orange, that's the amount of dividends, how it would have accrued each year going forward. And this leads you up to the age of 40. Now that means my total portfolio would be worth £220,000 and I would have invested round about £106,000 of that, which means the rest of that would be dividends that I would have accrued over those years, essentially the compounding effect. Now, if you take £220,000 and you were to work 6% yield, that would be £1,100 per month. So if I think about that right now, what would £1,100 per month in passive income do for me at this stage of my life and indefinitely going forward? That would be such a massive help. So it's those small increments in my early years, just investing a little bit here and there would have put me in massive stead now, massive footing in my future. My second piece of advice would be to build your skills. In your 20s, it's a time for learning. So you, rather than just be a wage slave, which is one of the worst things that you can do, you want to go out there and understand yourself, go and learn whatever skills that you can. I learned computer programming, how to be an animator, how to use Photoshop, how to use photography, and I was able to utilize these skills in terms of making t-shirt designs. I used to have a successful animation channel. I used to do all these different things to earn me extra money, but you should learn those skills while you're in your 20s. One of the worst traps that I see people fall into all of the time is that they get a job. And once you get a job, you become addicted to that wage. So sometimes you don't even get a necessarily good job when you're just starting off. Say when you're 18 or 20 years old, you might just take a job just because it's earning money. And after a while, you get addicted to that level of money. You start spending based on it. You start planning your life based on that wage. And before you know it, you've fallen into the trap of becoming reliant on that wage. And then what happens is you don't bother to learn any new skills. And this can really hold you back. My third piece of advice would be to really limit your expenses. Now, when you're in your 20s, it's really tempting to go on all of those crazy holidays and tour the world, go on every single night out that you're invited to, get drunk, drink loads of beers, have an exciting lifestyle, chase those clothing, that expensive clothing, because it makes you look and feel good, buy that expensive car because everybody's going to be jealous of you. Now, really, you don't want to do this. These are unnecessary expenditures. Buy clothes that fit, that make you feel good. Buy a car that's really practical and runs really cheap. Again, you will thank yourself for that surplus money down the line, especially if you invest that money wisely and very early on. Your future self will thank you for it. My fourth piece of advice would be to don't get into debt unless you have to. This is specifically geared at things like university. I'm a guy who went to university and I went to it more out of habit because everybody around me was going to university. Unless you're doing a very specific degree that is very practical, for example, dentistry, where you have to go and do that, I would avoid university at all costs. I got myself a degree. In the real world, a lot of the times, it doesn't do you any massive favours. However, one thing it does do, you tend to accumulate a lot of debt whilst at uni, and that debt is structured in a way that you will never pay it back. You will only ever make small interest payments, so you will essentially have this debt around your neck for the rest of your life. Now myself, I was lucky enough to spot this pattern just after leaving uni and I recognized that I didn't want all my future outgoings going onto this particular debt. So I consolidated that debt and then I paid it off ASAP. But when I look back, I essentially took on several £1,000s worth of debt that I didn't need, that I shouldn't have taken on, and that hasn't particularly benefited for me when I could have utilized my skills elsewhere. Sometimes you can even be self-taught. You can teach yourself much better skills than structured environment like university can teach. My last piece of advice, number 5, maximize your income. The best way to actually build an investment portfolio and advance your life is to maximize your income. And you can do this by, like we said before, learning loads of new skills, but more importantly, applying those skills in ways that benefit other people. So myself, in the past, I've attempted to have a candle making business. I've made products on demand such as t-shirts and jewelry and cutlery and hats and bags. I've had several successful YouTube channels. One was an animation channel that was utilizing some skills that I learned earlier on. But these things can make you money while you sleep. Now, one of the worst ways to try and get rich is to just exchange your time for money, because time is something that's very limited for all of us. So unless you're a very high earner, you will spend a lot of your time exchanging it for a wage, which you then become addicted to. The best way is to earn money whilst you are sleeping. Whilst I'm asleep, my dividend portfolio is still paying me. Whilst I'm asleep, my t-shirt designs are still earning commission and they're still being bought all over the world. This is the best way to earn an income and really maximize it. So if you put all these skills together, you go out there, you learn new skills, you look to put those skills into practice on top of a normal job, you can maximize your income. You then want to ideally save a large portion of that you're not using. Don't live too frivolously, but don't live too wildly. You don't want to spend unnecessary money on things like cars, clothing, and absolutely holidays or nights out that you could do without. And what you will find is your life starts to advance significantly. It might not appear that way at first, but as your 20s go on and it kicks into your 30s, you will notice all that sacrifice and hard work that you put in, it really starts to accumulate and snowball. And before you know it, that money has compounded in such a way that your life is really starting to take off. Guys, I hope that this advice helped. If you haven't already, please like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.